people didn't agree with it. Maybe they'd be like, well, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. No, don't tell me how to feel and tell me how to react to what I'm doing.
This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast. Solitude, for most, is a very foreign concept. We are social creatures by design that crave interaction with others. We have a desire to partner up and create a team that we hope follows us for the rest of our lives. With good intentions and a loving heart, we find a compatible mate. The instant feeling of completion fills our souls and stabilizes our needs. What we believe is the last piece of the puzzle to create a solid future. Then, chaos ensues and throws this belief into confusion. Everything we believe is turned upside down, and we're left trying to make sense of what went wrong. We are given a bag of broken pieces that we must reassemble with no instructions. I'm Kevin Donaldson here with Mike Failace, and on this episode of the Suffering Podcast, we welcome Marcy Cowen to discuss the suffering of divorce. Marcy has gone through her trials and tribulations in the marriage world and come out on the other side a little bit cleaner. Not to mention, you're one of the few people who are open and honest about divorce, so thank you for coming in today.
Maybe a little too open and honest.
Well, there's almost a common thread in the room tonight.
Pretty much. But let's not dismiss the elephant in the room.
Again. The volcano.
The volcano, the hurricane himself, our special co-host, Mike DePalma. Mike, it's always a pleasure to have you in.
It's great to be here, and I do appreciate this thing.
Well, it's funny because everybody
Whoever did that, is that a filter?
Everybody from Hoboken has like a nickname or something, right? You've got Mike the Hurricane, Mike the Volcano, Mikey Three Chins,
Mike the Lip.
It's going down. It's going down. The lip was a good one.
The lip was a good one. Before we get into anything, let's throw a big shout out to our marquee sponsor. That's Toyota of Hackensack. We don't trust anybody, but we do trust Toyota of Hackensack. So if you're looking for a car, go to toyotaofhackensack.com and they'll be able to help you out. So Marcy,
Mike actually stole a Toyota one time.
What? Huh? This has nothing. This episode is not about me and my.
I haven't seen you in a while.
I haven't seen
you in a while, so I feel bad.
And it's an honor to be next to Marcy.
not us.
No, I don't really like you guys.
Marcy, each week we take a question from one of our audience members, and some of the questions are a little out there, but this one was really good, and I chose this one specifically for you because we are talking about divorce today. And this one comes from Steve M., and it's not the Steve M. that both of you know. When is it time to call it quits? Now, this is a general question. In anything in life, there is a beginning and there is an end. When do you think it's time to give it up?
I would say when the children are being affected.
As that's specific to divorce.
Specific to divorce,
yeah.
Correct. When the love is lost and you feel, if some people go through therapy, some people go through couples counseling, some people don't. I didn't have that opportunity, so I never went through that. But if they go through all that and it's just not working and you don't love each other anymore, then call it quits. Then be done with it.
It's a tough decision to make, especially when it's, okay, this is it. But it could be in anything in life. Mike, what do you think?
I think when it just gets overwhelming, it gets to the point where, it's not about the children and, it becomes personal.
What about like just something outside of divorce, say a job? Because, you had to make the decision to end your career. You had to make a decision.
Before someone else made the decision for them.
Or you're like, when you decide to call it quits on sanity, like how was that decision even made?
When it comes to the workplace, an occupation, a job, when the fun is gone. I experienced that as a police officer, and I used to love my job. I loved every day, and it just started to not be fun anymore. So
it's got some commonalities. Quitting doesn't have to be specific to divorce or a job. It's like I'm assuming that the love, the fun was all gone. Right?
Correct.
And it's time.
Assuming it was there in the first place.
This is going to be a fun episode. Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Mike hit on it. When it's no longer fun. When it becomes like all consuming to you now, and you're dreading doing something, when you no longer take love out of it anymore. I always say, if you don't like running into a wall, stop running into a wall. if it's not fun anymore, then just don't do it. But you have to have a fallback plan.
It's like when your kids come to you and say, "Hey, my shoulder hurts when I do this."
Yeah, then don't do it.
Don't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Or I punch them on the other arm. I guess the shoulder doesn't hurt anymore.
I mean, if you're no longer enjoying something, then I mean,
I actually found it easier ending the divorce than I did some jobs that I've been at.
It becomes like a family.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, leaving the job, I mean, I left a few jobs for different reasons, but I felt that to be easier than leaving the divorce, or for different reasons. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was easier leaving my ex-husband, or he left me, whole story. That was easier ending almost than leaving the jobs, and vice versa sometimes. Like, different reasons for each.
but you know what? A divorce is more, you're in your comfort zone. You're used to going home to your house every day, and then everything's just uprooted.
Right.
You
True.
know, and believe me, I went through it, and it's a total life changer. I stayed probably a lot longer than I should have, because
You try to do what's right.
It was comfort. I stayed there because of the kids, and I grew up in a family with divorced parents. I knew what it was like to not come home to a father every day, and I never wanted my kids to go through that.
Yeah, I grew up not one person divorced in my family.
Same with me.
So it
Same
was
with me.
a shock. I
But see, I grew up on the opposite end, where my parents weren't divorced. They should have been.
Right.
They should have been. So, I when I read this question, I thought about it in terms, and I actually got kind of sad when I read this question, because I thought about it in terms of this show. Because eventually, it's going to come time, hopefully 10 years, hopefully 20 years, but eventually it's going to come time where this show is no longer a viable option. Nobody wants to listen to it, or however it is, and it's going to be time to call it quits. I started thinking, how am I going to approach that? Because I love doing this so much. I love when the lights come on and the cameras come on, and talking into the microphone, and whatever comes, those thoughts that just bounce out of our head. And it's going to be very
Those stupid things that I say. I'm going to have nobody to say them to anymore. I'm going to have nobody to piss off.
I'm going to call Mike up. I'll call him on the phone and I'll just say something stupid, but it's not going to be the same. But I imagine when it's time, it's time. It's like with our careers in law enforcement. It's time. But it's never going to be an easy decision. So, I can't answer. I think it's going to be when the love of it and the fun of it are gone.
But you know what, Kevin? I mean, getting back to that, though, with the show in general, I mean, how many times we call each other, got a great idea for a show?
Yeah, and
and you sit there and we start bouncing ideas off of each other. We could do it this way. We could do it that way. We no longer have this show. I may never talk to you again.
I'd be upset if I didn't talk to you guys.
That might be a good thing.
Very upset.
No, but listen,
I'd be real upset too.
the ending of anything is
what I'm
never easy, and it's never
All good things come to an end, we all say.
Yeah, one day we're all going to come to an end, and but that's going to be
It's
beyond our
awfully
control.
morbid of you.
Isn't it?
Unfortunately, paying taxes and death are the two certainties in life. Steve, thank you so much for sending that question in. I'm going to be thinking about that question. Thank you for keeping me up at night, and I'm going to be thinking about that question for a little while now.
It was a great question.
That was a great
That was-
question.
that was
You can relate that to anything.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's when's it time to give it up? So I want our audience to chime in on that one. If you got an answer to that question, leave a comment below. We will answer it. And thanks for sending that in, Steve.
At least give us your ideas. I mean,
Yeah.
we're just getting 4 ideas here. People chime in and let us know. We could revisit that question another day.
That could be the social media question
Every
week, and we'd never run out of material on that one. So, Marcy, we've had a lot of discussions here, and I got to be honest with you. So, Mike and I came up with wow, it'd be great. Even though we all in this room have experience with divorce, nobody really seems too open to talk about the subject. And, it's a tough subject to talk about because it is somebody at one point you did or thought you cared about. There may be children involved. There may be collateral damage to whatever you say. So nobody was very willing to come forward. And we were talking about something different. We were talking about something with 3 acres. And, you had mentioned something about divorce. I'm like, wait, time out.
I
Stop.
talked about how Mike and I connected.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly
Very,
right.
very
Right.
true. A lot of similarities.
Yep.
And do you remember how I approached you on this subject? I said, stop. Whatever we're talking about, stop. Mm-hmm. Tell me about, you willing to talk about
And
your
you said you're
divorce?
willing to talk about it. I said, yeah, why not?
Yeah, because some people are very hesitant.
I understand why some people are hesitant. I've never been hesitant. For some reason. I really haven't. There kind of no reason. Like, I'm going through what I was going through, in my own way. And people didn't agree with it. Maybe they'd be like, well, you should be doing this. You should be doing that. No, don't tell me how to feel and tell me how to react to what I'm doing.
Isn't that great when outsiders tell you what you should be doing in your divorce? Mm-hmm. Every divorce is different.
Correct.
Every divorce is different.
Correct.
Oh, you should do this. You should do it.
Exactly.
Well, I did this. I did that. Well, shut your mouth. I'm doing what I'm doing.
Well, right. Maybe did that work for you? And if it did, great. And if it didn't, that's okay too. But like you said, every divorce is different.
Especially if you're speaking to somebody who has gone through a divorce, they feel like
They got to interject.
They have to interject, and they're not doing it out of malice at all. They're trying to help you through a very difficult time because I'm sure they remembered how difficult it was for them. Although I have seen some people who divorce wasn't very difficult. I think I know 2 or 3 people that got divorced for like $385.
Right.
You see those signs all over, like divorce, $399.
Oh, right. Exactly.
You know,
Mine wasn't difficult for me other than financially.
Yeah.
That's the only way that it was bad for me. Emotionally, psychologically, all of that, I was happy as a lark, to be honest. I really was.
Before we get too deep into divorce, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
My name is Marcy. I am the property manager.
I think
you got that part.
We got that right.
That's right. I'm the property manager over at 3 Acres in Jersey City, which is where I met Mike.
Which we were just there on Sunday.
Yes, that's right.
And without giving a shameless plug, fantastic place.
it really
that place
is.
was
It
beautiful.
Did you give him a
is.
tour of the building?
Yes,
I
we
did.
did.
Oh,
Yes, we did.
good.
We met a bunch of different people. We met your artist, which
Good.
I'm a big fan of art.
Yes.
So we met your artist. He's got some amazing stuff in
And
there.
we love Johnny.
Yeah.
Like I said, that place has you don't have to leave that building.
Once the restaurant opens,
Yeah.
we really won't have to.
Your
leave.
restaurant, bar,
That's right. Everything.
pool up, up on the roof and everything. Fantastic place that is.
Once I found out he was a Salvador Dali fan, that's what connected me.
Oh,
to
that
him.
was it.
Yeah, because I have. You're going to find that I have all this worthless, useless knowledge in my head. And here was my useless knowledge about Salvador Dali. Well, Salvador Dali died with no legitimate children, had about an $80 million estate. And about 10 years after he died, somebody came out and said it was his daughter. Now they're in active litigation to try to dig him up and get DNA out.
What, are they going to ask him questions?
No, get DNA.
Oh, okay.
Right.
To get DNA to see if this is his actual heir because there's $80 million sitting
That's
there.
actually really interesting.
Yeah, that's again. How do I know that? I have no idea. Ask me what Mike's
Okay.
birthday is. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. I think it's in March. I think. Am I right?
You're right on
Mine
cue.
just passed. I didn't.
There
Either.
you go.
You just passed. That's right. I did know that.
That's right. 60 what? 2?
No.
3?
No, buddy, that's about your. That's about your level.
All right. Next question.
Wait, I got to go back to 3 Acres though. It is a great place, and the owners, and it's a family. They are fantastic people, and what we just spoke about quitting, the fun got out of my job. The fun was gone as a cop, but now here
We have fun every day over at
we
3
really
Acres.
do, and I actually really enjoy it. I enjoy going to work every day. I enjoy working together with Marcy and whomever else. Like it's
Even
it
when
brought
we're
me
there,
back to life. And honestly,
But I'm his favorite, just so we're all clear.
you are my favorite.
'Cause you- 'cause you're
The owners are my favorite.
because you're his boss. That's why
Oh,
you're.
not really, but
You hear what he was saying about you the other day.
that's right.
No,
but,
it
you know,
is.
even-
It's a great place.
Kev, even when we were there, like when we met with Nobby,
Nobby.
Oh yes,
he
yes.
just seemed like he was having a lot of fun. It looked like a
Yeah,
great
it's-
place to be and a great place to work.
And when he was reading through the log, look at this shim. That's what he was telling me. Look at this shim. Look what he does here.
That's a Hoboken guy.
Yeah, that's definitely a Hoboken.
He's a
term.
comp.
But
He is.
it's really beautiful. It's very peaceful. It's you really don't have to go out of the
You don't.
You don't.
establishment.
Right.
You can be self-encapsulated, which I don't know whether that's
Yeah, but I mean, during a couple of years ago, when people were working from home, they could have stayed right there. And
You know what?
did
We still
whatever
have a
they
lot of
wanted.
people working from home. If you walk through our building, like on a work day, they're in the quiet room, they're in the common areas, they're in the community room, because there's Wi-Fi there.
Yeah.
So they're all working there. There's a fair amount of people still. I was actually surprised to see that.
Yeah, they move from space to
That's
space.
right.
I noticed it. You know
That's
what I
right.
mean?
Mike does security from home, right?
But he looks at those cameras 24/7. He's on those cameras.
You get the
Actually,
cameras on
yeah.
your phone?
It's classified information. If I tell you, you know what has to happen.
So where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Livingston, and I got married, moved to Pennsylvania,
How long? Wait, hold on. Oh God, you probably know my mother-in-law.
Oh,
I don't even want to. You don't ask a woman how old she is, but you probably know my mother-in-law.
oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Maybe we should talk about that after.
Yeah, probably because that's well. So you went face to face with Satan if you did.
Well, you mean from Livingston?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's kind of a few. I'm not your typical Livingston girl. Let's be clear on that.
So you went with Chris Christie and Jason Alexander and
Jason Alexander's older than me, but he
Yeah.
went to my high school, yes.
yeah. No, it's not his real name. I know that.
Right.
Yeah, but so I was.
They're a little older than me.
I worked in Roseland,
Okay.
so I was right next door, and
Sure.
we always went to the 7-Eleven on midnights down on Livingston Avenue,
Mm-hmm, of course.
and Panic's Towing, of course,
Yeah,
which
that's right.
Teddy Panic just passed.
Oh,
You know,
really?
Yeah, he just passed.
Oh.
He did our towing for years.
Everybody went to Panics.
Of course, we all did too.
Yeah.
Panics was great, but Livingston was a great. So you had two groups in Livingston. It was an interesting. You had Jewish and Italian.
Mm-hmm.
That was it.
Pretty much.
That was it.
It's not like that now. But
No,
yes.
it's not.
Right.
No, it's
Right.
not. But the houses are also going for crazy amounts of money.
Mm-hmm.
Like they bought my my wife's grandmother's house. I think they paid like $600,000 for it and knocked it down.
Well, they're doing that all over the place.
Yeah. Now it's I think it's 1.2 or 1.3 million.
Right, and they probably have like 5 inches of grass.
Yeah.
'Cause-
Yeah, it's not a huge lot.
Right.
It was only an extended bi-level on there before, so it's not a huge lot, but
Right.
you know, it's in a good section. So, but how'd you like growing up in Livingston?
I liked it. I didn't know any different.
Hmm.
Right, because I was there. I mean, I grew up there, and then I went to college.
You were at Livingston High School. Were you a Lancer?
Yes, I was a Lancer. There's only
Lancer.
one high school in Livingston.
Well, you could have went to a Catholic school up that way.
That's true, but I'm not Catholic, so I
Yeah, I wasn't
No, you
Catholic
didn't have
either.
to
I
be
went to Catholic high
I was
school.
going to say you didn't have to be Catholic to go to Catholic.
I went to
Well, that's
Catholic-
true, actually.
I went to Catholic high school with are you Jewish?
I am.
Okay, I went to Catholic high school with a lot of Jewish people.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
I have very good friends from Pennsylvania whose kids all went to like a Catholic, Episcopalian school, I think, or something.
Right.
Jesuit. Like St. Peter's Prep is a Jesuit school.
That's Jesuit. Yeah, I see. I knew some Jesuit priests. I did know them. You're waiting for the worthless now. Okay, Jesuit priest.
I'm just staying silent right
A
now.
Jesuit priest took me away from my faith originally.
I went to
in college.
Hudson Catholic High School, St. Peter's College. I get it.
PETA.
Yeah, St.
St.
Peter's
Peter's.
College.
That's that round bread.
Seton
that you
Hall
put stuff in
University.
there?
St. Peter's.
I have a lot of education.
St.
behind
Peter's
me.
College is Greek.
But my
right?
most
the
Right.
pita bread.
The
That's
pita
right.
bread. That's
Yeah.
right.
the
St.
education comes from the streets. That's where I'm most
Your
knowledgeable.
education comes from the Suffering Podcast. Are you kidding?
I think you should get a refund on that education, bud.
That's just not right.
So from college, where'd you
So
head
I
then?
went to college in D.C. Then I moved back home when I graduated college.
Catholic University.
Catholic, right? Catholic
that?
University. That's right. Not too far away. I went to American University.
Okay.
So I moved back home. I had a job, and I was dating my now ex-husband at the time. We met in college. So it was the long distance thing. He was in family business. So when we got married, I moved to Philly. I was on the fence about moving to Philly, but I was ready to get out of Livingston at that time.
Parts of Philly used to be nice.
What's that?
Parts of Philly used to be nice.
Yeah, there's still some parts that are decent. So I moved there, and we got married and had our children.
You were young when you got married?
I was 25.
Okay.
Young-
Well, that's not too young.
Young and stupid, as I say. Seemed like a good idea at the time. There are
That's
lots
what
of
I
reasons
say.
why I shouldn't have gotten married to him.
Okay.
Not shouldn't have gotten married, but shouldn't have gotten married to him.
So when you meet this guy, you obviously fall in love with this guy, or what you think is love. Okay.
Well, better said.
Okay. What you think is love. What was your concept of love when you met your ex-husband?
I had no idea.
Okay.
None. It seemed like a good idea at the time. We had two groups of friends.
Well, did you base it on your parents' marriage?
I should have because, my parents were married 50-something years.
Wow.
So, and still in love, still happy, the whole thing.
disgusting.
Yeah. They make those people
Right.
make me sick.
So I didn't know what love was. Is how, listen, hindsight's 20/20. I'm sure you guys
Sure.
experienced that too, right? So you realize a lot of things when you get divorced about the marriage, all the red flags, and there were tons. We had two sets of friends. One set that got married when I did, and then there was another set that got married like 5 or 6 years later.
Well, the funny thing about marriage is it's an institution that the current statistic is 50% of all marriages will end in divorce. And as you get older, that statistic drops. You know, that's a general statistic.